Alright, I really hope that this broadcast doesn't actually break. Happened 2 times already. So, round 3 of ScriptRunner for data center for Jira. So last session was a really long session. More than 2 hours. Now we're actually continuing our journey. And what we are actually gonna be doing is we're gonna be introducing some imports. Import classes, import libraries. I don't know what is the accurate way to actually call it, but not everything can actually be done with each API. That's one thing. The second thing is using these imports and everything else, it just adds more work. In terms of you would need to write more code to do some simple stuff. Like with HAPI, it would take less time for it. But doesn't matter. We are actually going to go through it. So first of all, Groovy runs on JVM. What's this? So this is the Java virtual machine. So everything that you're using, component accessor, this is going to be the core import for everything. This is something that you're going to be using almost in every possible script out there. There's also the issue manager when working with the issues, invalid input exception, and everything else. And without the correct import, your script will throw unable to resolve the class error at the runtime itself. So there we go. So this is our main thing, especially this right here, component accessor. Now, what the component accessor can actually do. So when we start to type component accessor dot, there are a lot of options in here. Application properties, attachments manager, avatar service, and everything else. So you have managers and you also have the services, for example. Let's say for the searching and using the JQL, it's basically using the services. And also you have comment manager and stuff like that. So there are actually a lot of options to go from here. Now, it doesn't go alone, of course. So from here, when you actually type component accessor and you actually want to do something with the issues, for example, because when we scroll down, we have for issues and issue types and everything else. And each of these imports in here has its own purpose. Each of these has its own purpose. And what I also did, of course, was asking what each of these is doing and why is it being used and what for is being used. Another difference that you actually might notice, I'm using a different AI. I'm using Claude for one specific reason, because ChatGPT was really starting to bug and I couldn't do anything. It was really lagging. My my laptop even started to lag, so I was saying like, no, we're not gonna be using it. I was using that with Claude. I saw that everything went smoother, and I was like, okay, copy everything that we did from ChatGPT, put it in here, and basically that's it. So for the component accessor, we can actually do some things in here. We can do some magic. So everything is tied to either a manager or a service. So for the issues, for example, it's using a manager. So we're creating a variable of a manager. So we also have a component accessor, and we can use issue manager. There we go. Now from here, when we go with issue manager and get and click on dots, there's some certain things that can actually be done. So for example, you can get the issue count, and this is getting the issue count for all the possible projects that you have in there. Pretty useful thing, really. Also, you have get issue count for a specific project. That's also something that is really useful to have. Get issue by current key. The this is something that is really really mostly used to get the issue by the current key. Or you can get like, hey, get issue and like PM1 or something like that. And it's basically saying, yeah, sure. But from here, it's saying this code could be simplified using the H API, the method. But now, how are we actually going to be logging this out? So what we can actually do with this? So that's why we need to have another variable in here, and I'm going to name it issue. All right, so from here we can continue with log.warn, and I can type in issue, and I can click dot. But from here, we're starting to noticing something strange in here. So there aren't really some things that that is empty. Log warn, issue empty. Can you do that? Run, false. Yes, it can be done, but it's not getting the data that we want. So get issue is not ideal in here. So what is ideal is get issue by current key. So it's definitely getting it from the current key, and I'm using PM2. Now if I go with log.warn and I go with issue dot, I get different data in here. So for example, I have option for the issue type in here. Now, if I go here and run this, I'm getting this gibberish stuff that basically doesn't mean much to me. So, how do we fix this? If you actually recall the previous session, first of all, what we would use is to make sure that we are not crossing the null pointer exception. We're using the safe operator, which is with the question mark in here. And then we're saying, okay, what is it? So we have the name. Now, when we go down, we have a task. So this right here, this is the task, and this is how the issue manager is basically being used. Now, of course, you can go around, you can polish this more, adding the interpolation and everything else. Or you can log warn more stuff and more info about the issue and everything else, depending on what kind of properties are you're actually looking for. But this right here, this is the essential, right? So it goes with that, with the issue manager itself, and it's basically getting it by the key itself, and it reads the data. what it's important. So first of all, if I scroll down, so we're gonna ignore all this stuff right here, and I'm gonna be focused more on this part right here, saying, okay, I saw all of this stuff. Now I want you to explain every single possible library in here. So this library right here that we're having, that it's actually saying is being used for read-only purposes. So that's it. Nothing more than that. If we actually go down and if we see the code, this is what we're getting. So it's a slight different thing. But in general, it's the same like when we were using log.warn and we had everything else. But so in here, first of all, it's saying that issue is an interface. It's not a class. So there are these two differences between a class and between an interface. So I can type in difference between a class and an interface. There we go. A class provides both method declarations and implementations. Interface is purely a contract that defines method signatures without the implementation. So objects have implementations, interfaces do not have the implementations. And now it's proceeding and it's basically saying, so we're going to delete this one. So it's going to be issue. And what it's saying is basically issue manager.get. And now it's basically going to be using get the issue object. And it's actually still PM number 2. So from there, we're going to get almost the same results. So it's going to be issue dot and see if it is archived or not. It's not archived. So either which you use doesn't really matter. So we have that one. Then we have this interesting library right here, which is a mutable issue. And we go with the import and we go with the mutable issue. Now, so we are having like def mutable issue, and what mutable issue is, it is basically defined the as the read write class. So this is being used to actually update your data. Update your summary, update your descriptions, set the priorities. Basically, any possible thing that you want can actually be done with this. Except when we are talking about some different things. For example, if we are having, let's say, labels. Labels was interesting because it caught my attention. Because you can add multiple labels to your specific issue. And since you can actually do that, labels are being defined as something that is being called a set in programming. So when you're actually having that set, you're defining previously an object which is a label. So basically that means in order to add a label, each of those labels would need to have its own object in order to do that. See how complicated it gets? So yeah, that's the thing. So let's go with a mutable issue in here. So it's saying look and modify, and in here you can look, but you cannot touch. This actually reminds me of some kind of a song or something like that. Okay. Now, and then we are actually going a bit deeper in here. So, first of all, we are noticing a new option in here. And this is being used because this is an event. And what kind of events are we actually talking about? So we are talking about the events where you're having option when something is created, when something is updated, when something is deleted, or something else. So those event types are actually necessary in order to be there, to be part of the mutable issue. So, in this part right here, we're also going to copy and paste that. So we're going to have this. And now, we need to define the mutable issue, but the script runner needs to recognize that this is indeed a mutable issue. But before everything goes further, there are some things that need to actually be done in here. So, and this is because of this event dispatch option. Why? Because it will require 3 parameters for us, and if we're actually missing one of those, it's not gonna work, and it's gonna say to us you need to go back and you need to add some parameters. So this is where this logged in user comes into the place, the current user. And it's actually part of the component accessor as well. So that is also the part. So I'm gonna comment this right here. And from here, I'm also gonna be adding and saying, I can say logged in user. So who is the current logged in user? Well, that's me. But the system needs to know this. So I go to component accessor and I start typing it. It didn't recognize it. So component, why is it? User component accessor dot Jira. Why I don't have the IntelliSense enabled component accessor? Okay, let me remove this first. Okay, so component accessor, there we go. And from the component accessor, we also have in here, and we type in Jira authentication context. So you type in dot for that, and you have some options in here. So you can actually get who the logged in user is. So then this is logged in user. So basically that means if they are in the system right now, so if they're active or not, which is of course gonna give you true or false option. And in here you're saying basically logged in user. Okay. So if I go here and I try to log this out, there we go. I'm getting myself. What'd you know? So we have some things added in here, so that's what it is. So I can delete this issue right here because like it was stating, it is a interface. It's not a it's not an object, it's an interface. All right. Now, so that part is done. Then there's of course another part where you actually are starting to create the mutable issue in here. And in order to actually go in there and to be like creating the mutable issues first, we need to define it like a variable in here. And now what's gonna happen is, if we actually go back to our code, and if we are seeing it in here, so get issue object actually returns mutable issue under the hood, which is the correct thing. And the cast is always safe. Okay. Mutable issue, and from there, if I want to go and I want to say, okay, issue manager get issue object, and from there, as you can see, mutable issue, and I'm saying PM number 2. I'm not getting any errors, but what can be said is as mutable issue. So it recognizes it, the variable that is indeed as a mutable issue. So it's preparing it and saying like, okay, something from this can actually be changed. All right, so from here we have libraries, the component accessor, we have the mutable issue, and we have this Jira event type that we need in order to perform the operations of updating. And that comes at the very last, at the very, very last option. So then we have some options in here that we can already do. So for example, if I do mutable issue, I can say set, and I can be like set description. Change from ScriptRunner. I can be like mutable issue dot set priority ID. So I want to do this on the priority IDs, not the priority name. And I'm gonna say 1, and the 1 is supposed to be the highest out there. All right, so let me just change this to low, just for the sake of the demonstration. So we have the set priority, we have everything else, and I click in here, but I didn't log any of the changes, but nothing happened. Set priority and everything else. Okay, makes sense. I know why. Now you can modify the fields. Process the changes back to the database. Now, so in the database, there isn't a change. So now it's also saying low. And there are no changes even if I said this. Now, since I'm actually on the Docker, of course, and I'm using the Postgres database, there maybe is a reflect on the ScriptRunner, but there isn't a reflect on the database itself. So database also needs to be updated. So what do we do here? Now, we have an option, of course. So this is next to update the issue. There we go. This is something that we're looking for. The main part of this script, issue manager dot update the issue. And now it's asking us. So it's asking us three parameters. First of all, the application user. Now you understand why we have used the current user. So that's why it was used. So you're saying current user. That's one parameter. Mutable issue. What the mutable issue is, it's here, but it also needs to be based on the ID itself. And then there is update issue request in here. So for that, we're having this part right here, which is event dispatch option. Issue updated, but we are not done, as you can see, because it's all red in here. A hidden parameter that actually needs to be added in here is a Boolean value, of course, which is true or false. Why? Because based on that, it's gonna say if it's gonna send an email of this update or if it's not. I'm gonna say it's false. So we are not needing any of that. And now we can actually log, of course. Instead of log info, we can be like log.warn. And oh, we are getting errors. No signature stuff. Request caching. Issue manager update issue is applicable for argument types. Okay, so we are actually missing something. Set the priority of 1 as the mutable issue. Okay, let me just mutable issue. No, it doesn't change that much. Okay, we're gonna do the same thing. So it's gonna be issue manager and then update the issue event dispatch option parameter 1 application user, that's current user. Wait. Current user. Also the mutable issue, the parameter issue.id. Update request, which is this part right here. There we go. And also we're having false option. Okay, it seems I missed something. Logged in user, that was fine. Issue manager. Mutable issue. Unbelievable. And it worked. Oh, this is so, um, it's so funny, really. Mutable issue and everything else. Ah, okay. I see what was the error. I was putting the ID there, and the ID wasn't needed. Okay. Okay, I understand. What was what was the um what was the mistake in there? All right. Common mistake. People fetch issue try to call set summary. Because issue does not have setter methods, always cast a mutable issue before modifying anything. That's a pretty good advice. Yeah, but as you can see, it was modified, and that is how you actually update the stuff. Yeah, again, HAPI works. Again, it works. So that is really something that is fascinating to me, especially the amount of code that basically you needed to do all of that stuff, especially this stuff right here. Unbelievable. Um, yeah, I think we can move on. So we have this and we have this. So set the priority and everything else. Oh, yeah, there's gonna be a challenge in here that I think um that I also put in there as well. Our issue manager, it's something that never call delete issue in an automated script. Uh, there's no recycle bin in the Jira data center, and that is correct. Not only on the Jira data center, but also on the Jira cloud. So those two things do not have a recycle bin at all. So once it's deleted, it's done. You cannot return it. Actually, you can with the third party application out there, and I think it's called Rewind or something like that, where you have the options to return those issues that you have deleted. So there is a possibility for that. It's not a free possibility, of course, but it is definitely a possibility and something that is of course possible to do. All right, so now you have also issue factory, right? And it's used to create a blank new issue object in a memory before saving it to the database. Ah, so this is actually being used when you're creating the new issues. So you were using this part, which is actually the mutable issue, and this event dispatch option when you were creating the mutable issues that were actually being used to uh, modify stuff. But of course, you also have the options to create stuff. So that is something um, that is really, really that is really interesting and that I really find, you know, astonishing. But of course, this is something that it can be done at any time. All right, so use to create a blank issue shell, if you can actually call it like that. So there we go. We have our issue factory in here. Let's add it. And now, so there is this option even in here to import the Jira issue factory and everything else in there. So when we actually do that, so let's go with, well, we can call it factory. Why not? So have to be the same. So if you type in issue factory, there we go. So what it can do, factory dot clone issue. Okay, and the clone issue, so as you can see, these are being used for modifying. Okay, so those are being used for modifying stuff. So get issue, notify all, wait, charge, find results. Okay, it seems like not a lot of stuff, but okay. There's already all of this. Project type. Find the issues type you want. They must exist in project scheme. Project dot issue types and everything else. So it actually took it from here, and then it went for. All right. So now we have to go with project manager. Now the project manager as a person who is, well, who is actually doing the work. We're talking about a different kind of a project manager, because project manager dot, and basically you have get all project keys, and is that even possible to do? Log.warn. I mean, yeah, it should be project manager. Get all project categories. Get project category. Right, so log. I don't have any. Okay. But I want to go with more. I don't want to stop only with one. Right, so project manager dot get all project keys. So it's a set of strings. It doesn't work. Project manager get all project keys. Please check if declared type is correct and if it exists. So basically this means that something is missing, and there could be a missing library. Yeah, so that is something. Project manager dot. Right, so yeah, project count. And I can count the number of project. Yeah, there we go. It's number 1, because there is only one project. So, okay. All right, so now, so the issue type and everything else, so project dot issue types, find. So to find, so when you actually define a find, then it's followed by this closure in here, and within that closure, you're actually finding finding the name, which is actually task or something like that, you know. So, all right, so first of all, I'm gonna say project equals to project manager and I'm going to say get project by current key, which is going to be PM. All right, cool. And now log.warn, you can actually go with project. And there you go. So now avatar, email, get description of the project itself, of course. You can also get the ID of a project, which is also something that is pretty cool to know. When you don't know the ID of a project, but you need it or something like that, instead of going with the API, which is of course that you can do, and that is free versus using the ScriptRunner, because the ScriptRunner of course is not free. It can actually get really expensive, but let's not talk about that. So all right, so now issue type is gonna be project, and it's gonna be issue types, and from there's also like get issue types, right? So now I would go with first, I want to go with get issue types. I want to try with that. I want to go log warn, and I'm gonna go with issue type. All right, so we have the but now I want to save it. Find by name. Oh, I don't have it. No. Oh, I cannot do it. So I don't see it at all. At all, any, as list, average, collects, combinations, contains, counts, stuff like that. So I cannot do that if I have get issues. But so it's gonna be issue types dot. And now what? So from here, you have these options where you can actually add iterator, is empty, or something like that. So if you say is empty, and then you go with log.warn, and you actually go with issue type, so it's gonna say false. Of course, it has issue types. It needs to have them. All right, so issue types, but it goes and says find, and within this find, you're actually gonna have this closure in here that you're basically defining. So all right, so let's see. All right, so it should find, and in here now, if you remember, what we're actually having in here is this closure option that you're using, which is named it, and then it goes it dot name. All right. Oh, I don't have anything in there. Okay. It dot name. Missing something. It dot name. I dot name equals to bug, for example. There we go. So now we're having this option in here, and we have the mutable issue that needs to be in the memory in here. Okay. So now saying that new issue is doing all of this possible stuff in here. and save the issue, and then it's doing the stuff that it's basically doing. But it's using the issue factory. So the issue factory is basically being used, creates issues, modifies issues, used with modifying issues to basically have this, to actually add the specific events in there. Yeah. And it went there. Okay, that's fine. But I didn't have to add like that, so it could be like this. And then it was defined as mutable issue and saying mutable. And from there, what was done was basically saying that issue that I have factory dot issue. I don't have it defined in here, but I can use it. Now from here, mutable, I can say set, and I can say set description, new issue created, mutable, set priority by ID, which is like the ID or something like that. Set Alright, set key, set number, priority, project ID, reporter, resolution, status, and some stuff like that. So I don't wanna use that. I wanna go with these two. Alright, so yeah, this part right here. Yeah, this is important. So you need to be mutable, set project object. It needs to be defined as the project itself, which is this, and also mutable dot set. So those two objects, and issue type. So issue type object. And it's saying that basically this is issue type. There we go. So without these two, this wouldn't work. So that's enough. See how much of a code you basically need just to create an issue. Just to do it. Yeah. That's how much of a time it's basically needed. And that's how much time it actually takes to do all of that stuff. But that is not even done yet. Because, there is also an option here. That, mutable, and what I can actually do is set the assignee. And who the assignee is, I can select that to be the current user. There we go. That's fun. But these two, this is important. Really important. Project issue type, then find the bug. So it can actually create it as that, right? And then you have all of this. So this part, create issue current user new issue. No, it's actually called suitable. Yeah. Yeah. That's it. There you go. And it said create issue object. So it's creating an object. So that issue is an object. Believe it or not. Oh, of course, all of this needs to be after this. And you're defining all that stuff and all that crazy things. See how much of a code this actually needs? Almost like 30 lines of code to create an issue. Yeah, crazy. I know. But that's basically how it works. Yeah. Um yeah, we have more stuff. And if you, of course, you can log this, always log stuff. So great question. Hey man, I'm doing it because I know it should be enough, but I saw some crazy scripts out there that basically couldn't be done with the with Happy, and it was saying like, oh, there are actually some things that you cannot do with the HAPI. And I was like, okay. And then I started to actually basically drill down every possible thing in here. So, yeah, that's basically the reason of it. So it's like doing this in a harder way, you know? Yeah. That's the explanation that I have. But good question. Maybe I should be using API more. Definitely. Wait, since we're actually talking about that. Okay. No. See this? This is what I'm talking about. Look at this, my friend. Look at that. Look at this. This is this. Yeah, but now the question is, if it's a wrapper and everything else, um will it have some kind of limited functionality? in terms of doing, like, for example, workflow. I think it was a workflow condition or something like that. I think that there was even a script for, and I even asked, can actually be done with this, with the happy. There we go. This is it. This was the part. So it had all of this stuff, right? Group manager, current user, everything else. Check if someone is in there. So this was for the workflow, and it's saying, first of all, it gave me the wrong information. The script will fail immediately. So the data center, so yeah, covers basic functionality. Yeah, so it's not covering everything, every possible thing, but to create and update stuff, this is just, look at that. Look at this. Wow. This right here, my friend, this is something that is so, oh, okay. Oh my god, I'm getting 301 logs. Okay. And all of this stuff for one created issue. That's insane. Free logs. But then again, it said, hey, PM27 has been created. Okay. Where is it? PM27. I don't see it. I don't see it here. Where is it? Did Club miss something? PM27. Oh, I don't see that. You know what I think the problem is? I think that's the problem. Task. Can I get property on what now? Issue cannot be displayed right now. Okay. Huh. Current mutable. Find. Alright, sure. Issue type. Factory that issue. Just take a look. Wait. Line 6. Just the issue manager and the component accessor. issue manager. Basically it. And I was 27. No, I didn't have it, and this one is not. Okay. Oh, wait. Wait. Let's go with that. Yeah, I'm 29 now. There it is. It's there. Even if it's saying cannot at alright. Mutable set description and else. Like this. So it could be sir. Oh. All object script number 6. This is 6. See anything wrong with it? PM30 also is fine. And it was perfectly created. And in here it's giving me some stuff. Build issue data. Issue data. Okay. Yeah, that was that's this part. And in here it didn't have it. Okay. Yeah, because it is this part. It was this part, so it was mutable. And it was set custom field value. Yeah. And it was issue data, I believe. Yeah. So issue data there. And there is like this object parameter or everything else. I don't have it defined yet. So I can be like, so can I say hello? No. Yeah, but I know why is it doing. Because there is that field as well, and it wasn't included. It's actually on the screen. But it will also say for the script runner too. Because it's also the script when custom should connect properly with P. Check should yeah, field valid. Yeah. Yeah, there are functions for that. Should return a list of all checks. I'm sure. For this and for this, so these are okay. And these two were also important as well. It's okay. I mean, from here, this issue data matter that much to me, as long as it was created in here. So it's fine. What else do we have? I'm on here, this issue type, right? Oh, it's using collection. Yeah, list all issue types available. This in this specific project. So this is what is it doing? Okay. And then it lists all the possible issue types with its IDs, with the names, if the issue type is a subtask or if it's not. Yeah, I can understand why. Because there's this option that basically you can create the issue type where you can define if it's a normal, standard, or everything else. Yeah, it iterates through all issue types. That's right. And it's using this collection right here. Issue types, and everything. So if I go with that, and if I just go and comment all this possible things, right? This too. Okay, so is this one collection issue types and everything else, but oh, so this one is missing and that one is missing because we don't have an import. Well, what do you know? Been resolved. There's no more errors in there. That's actually. See? Saying that this right here could be simplified. Users get logged in user. That's it. Nothing more. Nothing more. Basically, that's all. And issue types for each, and it goes basically through it, through the loop, and that's it. I can say issue, and say log warn. I can say, for example, ID, and add this, and I can say issued ID. Should print. Yeah. And there are only two of them, so basically it's task and subtask, and that's all. And if I go here and if I say, of course, say what is the type of it, should that type, say name. All right, there you go. Task, subtask, and of course from there, there's this option that checks if the certain issue type is basically a subtask or if it's not a subtask. So that's That is also an option in there. Yeah. Now, let me see how much can I go. Bug type and everything else. Practically use. So this is something that is being used practically, right? And it's getting this issue manager, issue type, issue type. If it's a subtask, and it's saying, okay, this is the subtask of this one, and then this is a top level or something like that. But you could also see this in the UI itself, or actually with the JQL. Oh, and it's now saying to us, well, how this actually works together. And basically mixed up all of this stuff. Issue mutable, issue manager, factory, issue type, name it. It's all there. So that's pretty fun, right? Have every possible thing there. So what else do we have? Issue factory, and then it goes on. Source issue. This is not even needed, like because this said that basically this is an interface. As use its interface like read only. And if it's not story and it's saying basically this is not story and skipping and everything else. So if it's a bug, and then from there put the new issue in the memory, and when it's done in the memory, it creates this an object and everything else. So everything needs to be wrapped up into that object, so then it gets created. And I went through some errors. Oh, right. So, uh, this this part was really interesting. The labels and how the labels were actually handled in. Well, first of all, you needed to have uh this library in here. So another add library. Basically, that is related for the labels. And then you actually move on from there. Yes. See here. And there was this. So saying no, mutable issue ID backend. So this is where you're defining the name of the label. The name of the, and before all of this, and I was like, okay. I was like, okay, what was this? The null for what? Mutable issue for what? Or I would see that basically this is like creating a new object. Basically that object in there. Um, issue scrolling until moment when someone is feel the man as mandatory. Yeah. Yeah. Or sorry, I'm working on a half brain here. And yeah, you're right. And from there, it has this label object, and from there has this created, and I had no idea, except this, why these two were used. No idea. And in then it's saying, okay, you're putting in the each object individually, then you're putting them in the set, then you're setting the labels, and then after that, of course, you will need to have this event that actually does the updating of the stuff and everything else, and doesn't send the email. That's false. That's good. Now I asked, okay, what's the deal? And it's saying that the label on its database ID, so it's saying no, not persisted. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, the constructor would also be really useful there. Ooh, um, yeah, but it's there and it's putting it, but as you can see in here, it's like making it into braces and putting them, defining them as set. And then that's how basically it's doing. But this part, the label's own database ID. Labels ID. Labels base. Ah, right. So, yeah. I don't have the database where I could see all of the um labels out there. I could I could query that. Ah, and how did that go with REST API? Was this the REST was the API within ScriptRunner or from the documentation? I believe uh, that you mean for the documentation. If not, this part, label's own database ID, right? And then the ID of this label to the issue ID, label text. Or and it's saying that basically set the labels constructive, places all existing entirely. Want to add the label, must read first then merge. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Read existing label. Add new label without losing the. Okay. Okay. But labels were really interesting and how they are being handled uh, with ScriptRunner. So yeah, that's some code that definitely shows. set label. Label set list plain strings like inside the list collection. Version objects applicator project object, which is this one. But you also need that project object find also at issue type object find, so everything can be related from them and work based on them. So, yeah. And it seems like I asked again, didn't. Now it's saying why null for the first argument. It uses auto increment ID everything. When you're creating a new label object that not exist in the database, you pass null because the ID does not exist. Jira assigns it automatically. Issue is saved. Of course, makes perfect sense that every ape label will have a different ID. So that's perfectly fine as well. Yeah, you know what? I think I'm gonna stop here. Call it a night. Yeah, that's it, guys. We're gonna be continuing with the series. We're building up knowledge, everything else, adding, of course, personal projects, and also the scripts and everything else that is useful in the real time. So that's the plan. All right. So that's it. I'll see you all. Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. I'll see you.